evaluate.
I found the spot where we were. It's not buffering. It is ready to go.
Evaluated over the course of your career, both the ones that you've done, also the ones that you've supervised in your office?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm muted. I know. Because StreamYard hates me. Why? Why? You did the other thing perfect. Why you gotta be that way?
Okay. Well, if you just think of my office, where I was chief for 25 years, and then you thousand, that's 20. It's about 30,000 autopsies, which suicides. It'd have to be 5,000-6,000, something like that.
In your expertise in your field of publishing in the area of forensic pathology, have you ever authored any articles on the subject of suicide?
There's a chapter in the my gunshot wound book, and there's sections on it in the forensic path book and in the handbook as well.
Okay, and do medical examiners, do they keep track of statistical information and other details regarding suicides for the benefit of forensic pathologists?
Most offices don't. I was real hyper about it, so I kept the statistics. But most offices don't, because they don't have the resources to do it.
Okay. Have you ever published anything in the field of suicide, any journal articles or anything such as that?
I know there's chapters. I don't know if there's anything in my my articles. I've forgotten now, honestly. After a while, it gets away from you.
Okay.
You publish so many of these,
I knew that was going to happen. Didn't I say that was going to happen? Didn't I say some innocent person was just going to be walking along on the sidewalk, and I knew it.
Dr. DeMaio, with reference to your work as a consultant, have you done that for how long?
I've been doing consultations on a regular basis probably since 1981, 1982.
Okay. Would these be consultations for cases outside of where you were working in San Antonio?
Right. In my county, the medical examiners are allowed to do private work.
Okay.
And it's on the side.
This case is a consultant
Yes.
position.
Of course, I'm not employed by that county anymore, but this is an outside consultation, yes.
Okay. And you started this, how long have you been consulting on this case?
About 81, 82.
You've been doing consulting. How about on this case itself?
This case, I was approached a year ago this past February. So year and 4 months, 5 months, something like that.
Okay. What other type of people do you consult with, or agencies, if you could kind of give us a general idea as to what you do?
Well, a couple of months ago, I was here in Los Angeles testifying in court for the city of Los Angeles and the Los Angeles Police Department, who were being sued. And I was a witness defending the police department.
Okay.
And the city, and won, so the taxpayers aren't going to have to pay any money on that case.
No.
I've got another civil case for.
Oh, well, that's different. That's just somebody being stupid.
Just interesting. It's city and police department in Alhambra, which is involved in this one. The last 2 years, I did a homicide trial in Napa Valley, where a man had killed his wife 10 years before, and they finally were trying him. Testified to the district attorney.
We don't care.
done two cases down in San Diego.
Move it along.
One was a doctor, actually came from my medical school, graduated a year or two before me, who strangled his wife, testified for the district attorney there. Then I testified for the district attorney in San Diego on a second case, a man who killed his wife in 73 and then killed another wife in 2005. I did a homicide case for the district attorney's office in Riverside. And a number of years ago, I did 2 homicides for the district attorney's office here in LA.
Okay, so you would be basically retained as a consultant and evaluate the cases and then, if necessary, testify. Is that correct?
Right, yeah.
Both civil and criminal cases?
Yes, yeah.
Do you charge for your consultation work?
Yes.
You charge for your services in this case, the Spector case?
Yes, at the same rate I charge the city of LA and charging the Alhambra, the law firm that's representing the city of Alhambra.
Okay. I want to now move on to sort of your specialty in the field of forensic pathology and ask you some additional questions about your expertise regarding gunshot wounds and gunshot deaths. Have you ever, in the course of your career, done any type of experimentation as it relates to gunshot wounds and wounds, and deaths by guns?
Yes.
Could you tell the jury in general what your experience is?
When I was in Baltimore, the medical examiner's office had an arrangement with the state.
Like one of those auditor people. Yeah, they're stupid. How does getting arrested prove anything? It just proves that you're in the wrong.
In Maryland, unclaimed bodies are referred to the medical schools for anatomical purposes. So there was a board of anatomy in the state, and they bodies, and they had a number of experiments on the bodies with the permission of the anatomical board. Essentially, these involved shooting people in the head. And then I also did shots into the trunk in other areas, both standard ammunition, blank ammunition where there was no bullets, and at that time, the new high-velocity weapon on perforation of the skin by bullets. What was velocity for a bullet needed to get through skin? I also, that's the same time, did experiments on powder tattooing. To do experiments in tattooing, your subject has to be alive, and you can't shoot people. So you have to, if you want to do experiments on tattooing, you have to shoot animals. So did that through the auspices of the medical school there, and studies. The effect where you fire bullets into gelatin. I did that in the military, and I did it also when I was in Dallas.
Okay. Dr. DeMaio, is there any difference in Or does it make a different variable that makes a difference as to
The caliber they had, they weren't happy with. Essentially, that a bullet possesses, the severe, which is, like 34, 36 grains, can do a certain amount of injury. But at the other extreme, you get a 45 caliber. It's the size, but it's the velocity. So if I take a 22 caliber bullet and fire it at 1,000 feet per second, it'll produce X amount of injury. If I then take it and put it in another cartridge and fire it at 2,000, it has more energy. And the more energy it has means that it will go farther and it'll produce a severe wound. So the more energy a missile or a bullet possesses, the severer the wound, because it will lose more energy, 9 millimeters or 40s, and they're not carrying 22s. Because the 9s and 40s are much more superior than a 22.
they have more stopping ability? In other
More
words,
stopping ability, has more kinetic energy, the energy of work, which is determined by the weight of the bullet and the velocity.
okay. How did you learn so much about guns in your field? What was your, how did you begin?
Well, you study it, and then when the military was easy because you could do the experiments, you had access to weapons, and you had access to classified now. And so the area of wound ballistics is a whole study that started in the early 20th century, and it's why the military has certain weapons now and has discarded other weapons, because the research on wounding is now scientific. It's not, well, I kind of like this because I think this will do it. This, no. You've got to do the tests, and we will scientifically determine how.
Questions about weapons and some general questions. If we could have Exhibit QQ, Defense Exhibit QQ, put up first of all, and I'm going to show this. The jury's, I think, previously seen it with Dr. Pena's testimony, and ask you to take a look at this, Dr. DeMaio.
Yes.
Do you see this particular photograph? If we could have just the gun enlarged with the cloud, could you basically tell the jury what they're seeing?
Is in the cylinder. And this is Smith & Wesson. Okay. There are 6 cartridges in this cylinder, and they rotate. Now, what's happened is this cylinder is in line with the barrel. The hammer has struck the firing pin. The primer discharged. It ignited the powder. The powder is burning, and you can see the flame coming out this what's called the cylinder gap. That is, the bullet lies here, and then when you fire it, it jumps from the cylinder into the barrel, then goes down the barrel, and then exits. And so what's happened is the bullet has jumped. There's the flame. There's soot, powder, gunshot residue, all coming out of this gap, the cylinder gap.
Okay.
And if you put your hand, and don't do this, next to a cylinder gap, and you fire the gun, what you're going to do is you're going to get soot, you're going to get powder, you're going to get maybe fragments of metal.
Is he a gun expert or a forensic pathologist? Which has he been qualified as an expert in?
And you're going to get a burn if you're lucky. If you're unlucky, it's going to rip your skin open. Because this gas is coming out on.
Okay.
Then the bullet has gone down here, And what you're looking at is, well, right over here is a flame. And this flame is about 1,400 degrees centigrade. And anything in front of it will be burnt, or if it's plastic, it will melt. And this is then you have this gas cloud, which is going to be about 1 foot in diameter. And it kind of has a mushroom shape. Some of the gas actually gets out before the bullet. It goes in front of it somehow. And then you can see it here, and you can see the gas cloud. And some of this gas is ignited and is now burning. And you have this cloud of gas in there. The bullet is in there. And it's emerging here. Now, this is I don't know what it is, how much, but it's emerging under a few thousand pounds per square inch. That's the pressure. This gas, when it comes out of here, is a couple of thousand pounds per square inch. Depends on the caliber, depends on the barrel length. The longer the barrel length, the lower the pressure.
Okay, so depending upon, what are the variables for the pressure that comes out of the barrel once the bullet is fired?
Well, the variables are before. That is, the cartridge. A 38 is going to have more pressure than a 22. It's coming out more on powder, soot, more material, and all coming out. So this will be bigger with a 38 than a 22 with a lot more pressure.
Okay. Now, keeping this exhibit QQ on there for a minute, does it make a difference the type of ammunition that's used?
Yeah. If you're talking like something like 38,
like a 38 ammunition, there's been some
Okay.
talk of PM plus P. What are the differences in those?
manufacturer gun has some specifications. Don't forget, cartridge is not quite. Essentially, what you've got is a controlled explosion in the chamber. That's what a discharge is, okay? So the gun has to be built that it can stand a certain amount of pressure. And this pressure is determined by an association of manufacturers. Now, there is a standard pressure for all 30 cartridges. What happened is people had effective 38. So they began to load it to higher pressures. And what they did was, this ammunition would work in new guns, but they're saying, I wouldn't really be using it in guns made in the 1930s or 1940s because we can't guarantee the steel. And I wouldn't be using it, okay? And so because of that, the ammunition is marked plus P, and that means it's increased pressure. And actually, for a while, and I haven't seen it recently, they had plus P plus. And essentially, that was the equivalent of firing 357 ammunition in a 38 revolver. And, you just better make sure that your gun was pretty good before you did it, and you didn't put too many rounds through it. But a plus P is higher pressure.
Okay, and the barrel length would make that would be a variable to the amount of pressure that comes out of a gun.
Right. The longer the barrel, the more the space and volume for the pressure to disperse.
Okay, so the shorter the barrel, when it comes out, it's a greater pressure.
It's a higher pressure.
Okay. Now, you've fired guns, I take it, a number of times?
Yes.
You're familiar with all different types of weapons based upon your research and that you've actually fired?
Yes.
Let me ask you whether or not you're familiar with a Colt 38 caliber 2-inch revolver.
Sure.
Okay, the revolver that in this case that you learned was in this case. How are you familiar with that weapon?
Oh, this is a Colt Cobra.
Colt Cobra.
Yeah, I bought one in mid to late 19 an osteopathic physician in the mid-1970s.
Okay, so
I
you
know.
you fired that weapon before
Sure.
with plus.
Let's see. His days.
With reference to a gun, I'm going to show you a picture that we don't have marked as an exhibit, but we'd asked that it be marked next in order, Your Honor. It's the same gun here, but this is a high-speed photograph, I take it. Is that correct?
Actually, it's not. What it is it's someone's darkened the room, taken the camera, opened up the shutter, fired the gun, closed the shutter, and turned the lights on.
Okay.
Everything is just a gun illuminating itself.
Okay. If we could have the next one marked.
Okay. Since we have reached septuple whatever, that's a good place to stop. And I'm going to try to create a portal. If hopefully you guys will still be here and StreamYard won't crash, and then a portal will be unnecessary at that point. Yeah, he has not been. Has he even been? What's the word I want? Qualified as an expert in forensic pathology yet? He's not been qualified as an expert in guns. So why isn't the prosecution objecting to all the gun talk? It's crazy. Okay. So Carl is caught up. So we didn't get very far. We got far enough to get aggravated. Because the forensic pathologist is talking like he's an expert on guns. And now we're going to portal to the trial. And we'll have more of Mr. Eyebrows in the morning. So I will see you guys over there. Thank you for coming out if you're not going to be going to the trial with us. And I will see you in the morning. Bye.